Check out FlipsideGaming.com for all your gaming needs. Use the promo code HEROES to save 10% on orders over $10. From August 18th, 2020 through September 25th, 2020, if you use this promo code, you will automatically be entered into a drawing to win a Zendikar Rising set booster box. Also, there is another way to enter where no purchase is necessary. See the link in the description below for full details. Hey there, this is John from Heroes and Legends, and welcome to another episode of the Magic the Gathering Market Watch. There is so much going on again this week. We have a lot of cards to talk about today. So many reserve list cards are spiking. A lot of older cards, even if they're not on the reserve list, are spiking. We're seeing the double masters prices finally stabilizing, so I have worked those into the video. There's not too much to talk about there, though. But before we get into it, just a quick reminder, if you go to FlipsideGaming.com, you can use the Heroes promo code to save 10% on orders over $10. Currently, you can pre-order Zendikar Rising products there. As a matter of fact, if you use the promo code on the Zendikar Rising Collector Booster Box, it goes down to $211.50, and that does include shipping in the United States. Also, too, you can pick up Double Masters VIP packs there and a whole lot of other things on the website. Whenever you use that promo code, it does support the channel, which is always appreciated. So thank you. And without any further ado, let's get into it. We'll begin, as we always do, with Standard. In your top 12 Standard legal cards that have lost value this week, remember, Standard is still just in a really weird place. Most people can't actually play Paper Standard. Rotation is right around the corner, so keep that in mind as we look at prices. Number 12, Heliod Sun Crown goes down 30 cents to $12, and this has been soft recently, really ever since the banning of Walking Ballista and Pioneer. It is a popular commander, though, and it does see a little Standard play currently in Mono White Life Gain. Also sees a little Modern play, too. Number 11 is Prized Unicorn from Core Set 2020. Now, you couldn't find this copy in the booster packs. You had to go to your game store and get this in the green welcome deck. There was one copy there. This week, it goes down 31 cents to $1.70, and this card does see a little bit of commander play. Number 10 is Lotus Field. This is rotating out pretty soon, but it doesn't really see a whole lot of Standard play anyway. It goes down 31 cents this week to $5.84. And here's another card that is soft because of a Pioneer banning. This time, the banning of Underworld Breach has impacted the price of this. So you can't play Lotus Breach anymore. However, I have seen a lot of people playing Lotus Combo, and that deck does seem to be doing pretty well. Also, this sees a little Legacy play and a good amount of Commander play. Number 9 is the Great Henge. It goes down 35 cents to $27.64. This card's been relatively hot recently, so you are seeing some retraction here. You'll find this one in Mono Green Stompy and Adventure builds, as well as other decks in the format. Also, this is in some Mono Green Pioneer decks and sees a lot of Commander play, too. Number 8 is Scavenging Ooze from Modern Masters 2017. It goes down 38 cents to $3.80. Now, this was reprinted in Core Set 2021. Really, ever since that card came out, all the older copies have been soft, but now we know there's going to be another reprint coming in the latest Secret Lair, Prime Slime. With that being said, though, this is a highly played sideboard card in Standard, Pioneer, Legacy, and even sees some Vintage play, also found in a number of Commander builds. Number 7 is Sacred Foundry from Ravnica City of Guilds. It goes down 46 cents to $16.85. So if the Shocklands aren't reprinted in Zendikar Rising, which I don't think they will be leaving Standard pretty soon. With that being said, though, currently this is still seeing play in Mardu Winota, Mardu Knights, and more. Also, too, after rotation, these are still going to see a ton of play in Pioneer, Modern, and Commander. Number 6 is a card that had a pretty high price point during the pre-release season, still trying to find its true price point. It is Teferi, Master of Time. It goes down 51 cents this week to $24.49. This is currently in a number of Standard decks, Sultai Ramp, Temur Midrange, Azorius Control, and more. I'm sure this is going to see play post-rotation, maybe more play when you have less cards to choose from. Also, too, it's even seeing a little Legacy play, and it does see some Commander play in builds like Atraxa Praetor's Voice, and of course that just got reprinted in Double Masters. Number 5 is Questing Beast, down 67 cents to $15.99, and this is in Mono Green Stompy, Gruul Aggro, and more. Also has seen some play in Pioneer, Modern, and Legacy. Number 4 is Azusa Lost But Seeking, the one from Masters 25, going down 73 cents to $11.61. This card has lost a lot of value since it was reprinted in Core Set 2021. In Modern, though, this is an Amulet Titan. It's a highly played Commander card, too, seeing more play now in Radha Heart of Keld builds. Number 3, another card that just got reprinted in Core Set 2021. It is Ugin the Spirit Dragon from Fate Reforged, going down 74 cents to $32.20. It feels like maybe finally this is starting to stabilize. Now, this does see a lot of play currently in Standard, Sultai Ramp, Temur Elementals, and more. Pioneer, this is in Lotus Combo. Modern, you'll find this in Tron builds, and it's still a highly played Commander card too. Number 2 is another Shockland. It's Breeding Pool from Dissension. It goes down 76 cents to $32.99. And this is in a lot of decks right now. Sultai Ramp, Temur Adventures, Temur Elementals, Temur Flash, and more. And number 1, one more card that was reprinted in Core Set 2021, Massacre Worm from Meriden Besieged, goes down $1.61 to $11.18 this week. Now, this isn't seeing a lot of standard play, but it is in a lot of commander builds, things like Teysa Karlov and Yurok the Desecrated. Alright, on to your top 11 standard legal cards that have gained value this week. Number 11 is Golos, Tireless Pilgrim. This goes up 67 cents to $5.49. Extremely popular commander. Also has seen play in Modern, Legacy, and Vintage. Number 10, Chromatic Lantern from Commander 2016. It goes up 67 cents to $9.48. Now, this was reprinted not too long ago in Mystery Boosters. Of course, before that, it was Guilds of Ravnica. The older copies have been soft for a while now. However, you are starting to see them rebound a little bit. This is a highly played commander card. Number 9 is a Shockland going up in value, Temple Garden from Ravnica City of Guilds. It goes up 73 cents to $15.99, and you'll find this one in Standard, Abzan Midrange, and more. Number 8 is another one, Hallowed Fountain from Dissension, going up 76 cents to $24.97. There was one copy of the Ravnica Allegiance version of this card in the Wild Bounty Brawl deck, and this copy of the card has been pretty soft ever since those extra copies entered circulation, but now it is bouncing back a little bit. You'll find this one in Control builds and more in Standard. Number 7 is Heroic Intervention from Aether Revolt. It goes up 77 cents to $9.50. This card actually lost a fair amount of value when it did get reprinted in Core Set 2021, but it does see play in Standard in Mono Green Stoppy, Gruul Aggro, and more. It's also another highly played commander card. Number 6 is a solid commander card that's in a lot of different builds, Chromatic Orrery. This goes up 78 cents to $9.79. Number 5, Ajani Strength of the Pride, up 83 cents to $12.49. This one's in the Mono White Life Gain build. Also has seen increased commander play in Rin and Ciri Inseparable and Heliod Sun Crown builds. Number 4, the card that just won't stay down. It is Shark Typhoon, going up 92 cents to $12.08. You're going to find this one in Control builds, Temur Flash, and more, but it's also in decks in Pioneer, Modern, Legacy, and Commander. Number 3 is Karn the Great Creator, going up $1.61 to $8.50. Here we have a card that is going to rotate out of Standard, but like some other cards we saw today, it really never did a whole lot in Standard to begin with. In Pioneer, this is in Mono Green Planeswalkers. Modern, you'll find this in Tron builds. Legacy and Vintage, you'll find this card in decks there too. Although it has been restricted in Vintage, it was just so good in that format. It also sees play in Commander, Brea, Urza, and more. Number 2 is Steam Vents from Guild Pact, up $1.63 to $20.64, and this is another example of a Shockland that has been relatively soft recently, but now, even though it is closing in on Standard rotation, this card is jumping back up again. Currently, you'll find this in Temur Adventures, Temur Elementals, Temur Flash, and more in Standard, but like I said earlier, still going to see a lot of play in formats outside of Standard. Number 1 is Grim Tutor from Starter 1999, going up $2.01 this week to $172.50. This lost a lot of value back when it was reprinted in Core Set 2021, but now it is trying to find its correct price point, going back up a little bit. Like all tutors, this does see commander play, and currently it is seeing some additional play in Tiny Bones Trinket Thief builds. That brings us to Pioneer. In your top 5 Pioneer legal cards that have lost value this week. Number 5, Perforos God of the Forge from Theros. It goes down $1.08 to $18. Now, this is a fairly popular commander, also is in a number of newer builds like Xera's the Writhing Storm, Zurzoth Chaos Rider, Rin and Ciri Inseparable. Also, this is in builds based around some recently reprinted commanders like Krenko Mob Boss, the Locust God, and it even got a Command Zone mention this week, so why is it going down in value? Well, it was reprinted twice recently. There is a foil copy in one of the Theros Stargazing Secret Lairs, and also you can find this in Mystery Boosters. Number 4, Liliana the Last Hope, down $1.16 to $32.10. Percentage-wise, maybe it doesn't see as much play as it was seeing in Pioneer, but you can still find this in Mono Black Vampires and sometimes in Sultai Delirium. Additionally, this sees at least a little Modern play, and also some Legacy and Commander play too. Number 3, Liliana Heretical Healer, down $1.20 to $16.79, and this is some retraction off a recent spike from a couple weeks ago, so nothing too unusual here. It is a fairly popular commander and has seen increased play in those Tiny Bones Trinket Thief builds too. Number 2 is the Scarab God. It goes down $1.64 to $17.53, but this is the copy from Double Masters trying to find its price point. You'll find this one in Niv Delight sideboards. Also, it's a very popular commander that was just on the last episode of Game Nights. Number 1, Cyclonic Rift, the Double Masters copy down $1.28 to $23.91. The Commander 2014 copy goes down $1.70 this week to $28.24. This does see a little modern play, but it is a huge Commander card, and the only reason it's really going down is because of the recent reprinting in Double Masters. That brings us to the top 6 Pioneer legal cards that have gained value this week, and keep in mind that Commander is still the driving force behind cards going up in value. You're going to see that throughout the rest of the video. Number 6 is the Immortal Sun, up $1.28 to $23.17. Very solid Commander card in a lot of different decks. Number 5 is Anointed Procession. This goes up $1.32 to $27.54. And this is a big Commander card, seeing increased play now in Ren and Ciri Inseparable builds. Also found in 2 builds where the Commander was recently reprinted, Reese the Redeemed and Brea Ethereum Shaper. Number 4, Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth from Magic 2015, up $1.33 to $26.99. This is in Mono Black Aggro, Mono Black Vampires, and more. Also sees Modern Legacy and Vintage play. It's a highly played Commander card too, and it is seeing more play in Tiny Bones decks as well. Number 3 is another solid Commander card, Hellkite Tyrant. This is the one from Commander 2016. It goes up $1.37 to $14. Many times you'll find this in a lot of builds, again, based around recently reprinted Commanders. Kali of the Vast, Brea Ethereum Shaper, the Ur-Dragon. I don't think that's a coincidence. Number 2, the Chain Veil, bouncing back after some recent losses. It goes up $2.05 to $25.95. This is found in a lot of different Commander builds, including Atraxa Praetor's Voice again. Number 1, Ulamog the Ceaseless Hunger. This continues to be hot. It goes up $2.59 to $49.75 this week. And this does see play in Mono Green Planeswalkers and more in Pioneer. Modern, you'll find this in Tron builds. It sees Legacy play in Mono Green Cloudpost. And it sees a lot of Commander play too. Alright, time for some Modern and your top 5 Modern legal cards that have lost value this week. Coming in at number 5 is one of those Double Masters cards trying to find the price point. It is Sword of Body and Mind. It goes down $2.31 to $12.47 this week. And this does see some Commander play in builds like Sir Gwen, Hero of Ashval. Number 4, second verse, same as the first, Sword of Fire and Ice from Double Masters. It goes down $2.59 to $45.42 this week. And this does see some Modern and Legacy play with Stoneforge Mystic. Also has seen some increased Commander play again in Sir Gwen decks. Number 3 is Dark Confidant from Modern Masters, recently reprinted in Double Masters, so it is going down this week $3.63 to $44.94. You'll find this one in Rakdos Midrange, The Rock, and more. Also gets Legacy play, Vintage play, and it's been seeing more and more Commander play recently, especially since competitive Commander has been more popular. Number 2 is another card reprinted in Double Masters. It is Jace the Mind Sculptor. Masters 25 down $4.51 to $79.99. World Weight goes down $4.62 to $87.34. This is in Azorius Control, sometimes Uro Piles and more in the Modern format. Also sees Legacy, Vintage, and Commander play. And number 1, Blightsteel Colossus from Mirrodin Besieged. You guessed it, another card that was reprinted in Double Masters. It goes down $4.77 to $54.95. And this does see Vintage and Commander play in various builds. Alright, let's look at the top 5 Modern legal cards that have gained value this week. Number 5 is Field of the Dead. It goes up $3.73 to $12.89, a card that was banned in Standard, banned in Pioneer, but it does see play in a lot of other places. You'll find this one in Amulet Titan, Uro Piles, and more in Modern. Also sees Legacy play in a lot of Commander play and lands builds and more. Number 4, just to keep things nice and confusing, we have a card that was reprinted in Double Masters that's going up in value. It is Doubling Season from Ravnica City of Guilds. It goes up $4.32 this week to $62.60. And we have seen this happen before. It sometimes does happen with older cards that are harder to find in good condition. People find out they're being reprinted, the card goes down in value, and then all of a sudden people think, okay, maybe I'll just pick up this older copy instead of the newer one, and then it has a bounce back week. Typically that is temporary, and you usually see retraction like the next week, but it is worth keeping an eye on. Now this is a huge Commander card. It's in builds around a number of cards that were reprinted in Double Masters as well. Atraxa, Riku, and Reese. Also, it has seen increased play in some newer builds like Zaxara the Exemplary and Ren and Ciri Inseparable. Number 3 is Grey Pact, another card that sees a lot of Commander play. You'll find this in Teysa Karlov builds and more. Also, too, this got better with the Death Trigger rules change that occurred not too long ago in the format. Commander Anthology Volume 2 goes up $1.18 to $19.86. Plane Chase up $2.65 to $24.50, and 9th edition goes up $4.56 to $25.39. Number 2 is Gilt Leaf Archdruid, and this is for Morningtide. I might have to use my one per video. It goes up $12.67 to $18.86. And yes, of course, during this time period of Magic, less packs were cracked, and because of that, cards tend to get a little bit spiky at times. Now, this has seen some additional commander play recently in some of the Radha Heart of Keld builds, but I think overall this card just dried up this week in the online marketplace. Maybe it was a targeted buyout, we'll have to keep an eye on it. And number 1, very similar story here, Rings of Brighthearth. This is from Lorwyn, again another set during that time period. This goes up $24.63 to $74.99. And this is a classic commander card that shows up in a lot of different builds. Great combo enabler. But that jump does feel a little unnatural. Maybe this is a buyout. And that takes us to the Vintage Spotlight. Tons of cards jumping up in value. And again, like I did last week in this section, I'll only tell you if the card is not on the reserve list. It's just going to be easier that way. So let's get going. Recurring Nightmare. This goes up $403 to $28.95. Feels like a reserve list buyout more than anything. This card is banned in Commander. Doesn't see a whole lot of play anywhere other than maybe cubes. Exact same story with this one. Raphaelos Llanowar Emissary. It goes up $476 to $29.87. Retrofitter Foundry, not on the reserve list. It goes up $487 to $23.72. And this is actually moving because of gameplay. You'll find this one in Legacy Ninjas, and that deck was doing well on Magic the Gathering Online. Also, it does see Commander play in a lot of builds, including Brutaclad Telcor Engineer, which was reprinted in Double Masters. Wheel of Fortune from Revised, it goes up $510 to $248. And even though this is on the reserve list, it did get one more printing as a Judge Foil before they close that loophole. And this does get vintage play. And in Commander, it's seeing a lot of play, especially in competitive Commander decks. It has seen increased play in builds like Xera's The Writhing Storm, Rael the Everwise, Brawlin and Shabraz. Also, too, remember this does combo with Lion's Eye Diamond, Underworld Breach, and Thassa's Oracle. And on top of that, it got a Command Zone podcast mention this week. Sylvan Library, 5th edition up $1.42 to $64.40, 4th edition up $6.97 to $69.47. And this one is not on the reserve list. As a matter of fact, this is being reprinted in the Commander Collection Green, so there is an opportunity to get a copy of this coming up pretty soon. It does see Legacy and some vintage play, and it's also a highly played Commander card. Apocalypse Chime, I talked about this card in Wednesday's video. Wow, it goes up $806 to $14.50, sees virtually no play. City in a Bottle went up in value not too long ago. Now that's an Arabian Nights card, very rare, very hard to get a hold of in good condition. It actually does see sideboard play in 93-94. So it makes sense why that card would spike. Then in an Alpha Investments video, the Antiquities variation of that card was talked about. You may remember that spiking last week. That was Golgothian Silex. Now that doesn't see a lot of play, but at least it is still a rare card, hard to find in good condition. This one, not so much. Yes, it is old, so it might be harder to find in good condition compared to a lot of cards, but there's a lot of these things that have been sitting in boxes and binders for years, never touched, and they printed a lot of homelands. So this is a good example of something you should not be drawn into because you're worried that it's going to spike or you might miss a big spike. This card is very different from the other two I mentioned earlier, and I do see people actually paying around $12, $13 for this, and that's kind of scary. Stay away from this. Wait for the price to come back down. It's going to happen pretty quickly. Next, we have the first of many dual lands from Revised you're going to see today. It goes up $845 to $238.11. Tropical Island from Revised up $909 to $472.49. Academy Rector, this goes up $926 to $79.99. And this one's in Legacy Rector Fit decks and does see Commander play too. Taiga from Revised up $1031 to $233. Bayou from Revised up $1035 to $415.79. Dancing Scimitar up $1068 to $55.75 from Arabian Nights, not on the reserve list, and actually this has been reprinted many times, but it just goes to show you a lot of people are still thinking about buying out some of these older rare cards regardless of gameplay. Allosaurus Shepherd from Jumpstart, so of course not on the reserve list, it goes up $10.89 to $90. And remember, there are some supply issues when it comes to Jumpstart. People can't get their hands on the product right now, but it is supposedly coming. So I do think these cards will be going down in value as packs get cracked again in the future. But I gotta wonder, at some point, will stores care anymore to order the product? Because they're gonna move on to the next big thing. You have Zendikar Rising, you have Commander Legends, so on and so forth, right? So I do think these cards will come down in value when packs get back out there to some degree. But I think long term, this set might have some expensive cards. Strip Mine from Antiquities, not on the reserve list. This is the copy, though, that you see on the screen here we're talking about today. Kind of has that even horizon. Pretty big percentage jump, up $10.94 to $71.40 this week. Arcades Sabbath, not on the reserve list. As a matter of fact, this did get reprinted. It goes up $11.91 to $34.89. A lot of the gold Legends from Legends are hot this week, especially some of the reserve list ones we'll see in a moment. Gilded Drake, this goes up $12.91 to $281.99. You'll find this one in Legacy Esper Vial. and it sees commander play, especially again in competitive builds. Rasputin Dreamweaver goes up 1423 to 109.74, and this card was talked about on the Command Zone podcast this week. Tundra, another revised dual land, it goes up 1453 to 351.89. Hellfire is up 1541 to 67.89. Tanos' Coffin goes up 1545 to 111.68 this week. Yawgmoth's Will from Urza Saga, this did get a printing as a Judge Foil as well. It goes up 1577 to 159.99. This sees vintage play, it sees commander play, and it has seen increased play in Tiny Bones builds. Vampiric Tutor, not on the reserve list. Visions goes up $1.49 to 103.21. Eternal Masters up 16.85 to 138.95. And of course, this is a highly played commander card, again, especially in competitive decks. And it has been pushed a little bit by people building around Tiny Bones. Also, this did get a mention in a Tolarian Community College video too. Ragnar is next up, 17.08 to 57.19. Here's the unlimited copy of Will-O-the-Wisp. It goes up 17.28 to 37.99, and this is not on the reserve list. Gate to Phyrexia. This goes up 17.38 to $120 this week. See what I mean by all these buyouts? Here is Divine Intervention up 17.80 to 140.24. Telekinesis up 18.15 to $95. Volcanic Island, another revised duel here. These are just all taking off now. It goes up 21.35 to 517.38. Angus Mckenzie goes up 22.10 to 212.97. Dakin Blackblade. Now this one is not on the reserve list, and again, it did get reprinted if you want a cheaper copy, but this one was also discussed on the Command Zone podcast this week. It goes up 23.83 to 72.41. City of Traders, good legacy card. Sees play in Mono Red Prison, Sneak and Show, Omnitel, and more. Goes up 24.46 to 185.93. Part of the combo we mentioned earlier, Lion's Eye Diamond. This goes up 26.08 to 340.26. Sees play in Legacy, Vintage, and Commander. Also was mentioned in one of the professor's videos on Tolarian Community College this week. Ramses Overdark, another card that was discussed on the Command Zone podcast. It goes up 36.64 to $50.66. Badlands from Revised up 38.25 to 338.16. Underground Sea from Revised up 42.47 to 572.86. Diamond Valley goes up 44.11 to 344.49. Plateau from Revised up 46.21 to 213.50. Grim Monolith, this goes up 46.25 to 272.65. Another card though that sees legacy play. This is in Mono Green Cloudpost, and it also sees a lot of commander play too. Ring of Maruf goes up 51.81 to 150 this week. Shahrazad goes up 61.36 to 327.50. All Hallows Eve up 66.20 to 298. The targeted buyouts continue. This time we have Stormworld going up 76.25 to 123.97. Mox Diamond from Stronghold got one more printing in foil. We're going to look at that one later, actually, and that was in From the Vault Relics. It goes up 224.07 to 712.50 this week. Okay, so a lot of people are comparing this one to Gaia's Cradle from last week. And yes, it is jumping up a lot. There is some market manipulation going on here, though, so keep that in mind. There's a lot of high asking prices out there, and I'm not really seeing them sell for these prices. I have not seen any copies sell for over $700. They seem to be sitting more around $500 to $600, which is still expensive, actually more expensive than they were, but not quite as expensive as they seem to be, at least not yet. This does see play in Legacy Lands, 4-color Loam and more, highly played in Commander, another card that's good in competitive Commander builds, and this got a Tolarian Community College mention on top of it all. Pyramids, this is another buyout with manipulation attached to it. It goes up 276.52 to 597.47 this week, and I'm not seeing anybody paying anywhere near that price for these. Library of Alexandria up 297.35 to 1,507.34. Now, percentage-wise, this is significant, but not as significant as a lot of the other cards we looked at today. And really what's happening here is you have some sellers asking a slightly higher price than normal. Nothing too out of the ordinary. They could be fishing for an offer, but it is pushing the price point up a little bit. Because remember, with these rare cards, it's hard to find a lot of sales in any given week. Your big websites have to kind of fall back on what people are asking, and that's how sometimes prices do get manipulated. Singing Tree, technically going up $487.99 to $644.50. This is in the same situation as Pyramids. I can't find anybody paying these prices, at least not yet. I hope you like Commander out there because the Commander Spotlight is very big this week. Let's get right into it. Mana Flare from Revised up $1.02 to $8, solid Commander card. Seeing more play recently in Kenrith the Return King builds. I do think this particular copy is just drying up a little bit this week. Oboro Palace in the Clouds up $1.02 to $21.37. This does see Commander play in Tatyova builds and more. It also does see a little modern play too. And this could get better when Zendikar Rising comes out if Landfall makes a comeback there. Gisela Blade of Gold Knight. This is the one from Commander Anthology Volume 2. And this particular copy is only found in foil. It goes up $1.03 to $14.99. This is found in the recently reprinted Kalia of the Vast builds and more. Donate, it's on the reserve list. It goes up $1.04 to $6.73. So sometimes you'll find this in a build like Zedru the Great-Hearted, for example. But there are a number of reserve list cards you're going to see in this section today that are decent commander cards. They don't necessarily see a ton of play, but I do think they might be moving up because of the fear of missing out. You have a lot of targeted buyouts going on, and people are thinking, okay, what is going to be the next card? And they're starting to panic buy some of the cheaper reserve list cards out there, moving them up, even if it's just $1 or $2 here or there. But eventually it could lead to enough sparseness in the market that you could see another spike. There'll be a number of other examples of this as we go through the segment. Nihiri the Lithomancer. This goes up $1.04 to $8.50, and this was on Commander Versus this week, actually. Fairly popular commander, also found in builds like Sir Gwyn, Hero of Ashval. Contagion Engine up $1.04 to $14.04. You'll find this in Atraxa, also Skithirex builds, both reprinted in Double Masters. Morphic Pool up $1.04 to $20.02, and this is one of those multiplayer lands from Battle Bond. Sees a lot of commander play, and actually, the rest of the cycle are going to be printed in the upcoming Commander Legends. Scrying Sheets up $1.06 to $14.34. Sees a little commander play in various builds. Concordant Crossroads from Chronicles goes up $1.07 to $38.89, and this has seen some increased play in Kinnan Bonder Prodigy decks. Homeward Path from Commander 2016, it goes up $1.10 to $13.05, and this is a good utility land to have in Commander. Sterling Grove, this goes up $1.10 to $18.78. This has seen increased play in those Sisay Weatherlight Captain builds running the new Core Set 2021 Shrines. Sapphire Medallion from Tempest up $1.11 to $19.95. This is the latest medallion to move up. This one is in the popular Urza Lord High Artificer builds and also has seen increased play in Bruvak the Grandiloquent decks. Mana Reflection from Shadowmoor, recently reprinted in Double Masters, does go up $1.12 this week to $38 after some recent losses. Highly played commander card, and it has seen play in some new builds recently like Zixar the Exemplary and Kinnan Bonder Prodigy. There's Urza Lord High Artificer up $1.12 to $41.99, very popular commander. Also in some builds based around reprinted commanders like Breya and Joyra, and a lot of other places too. Additionally, this does see modern and legacy play as well. Timna the Weaver, only found in foil, up $1.14 to $39.90. Highly played partner commander, especially in competitive decks. And this did get a mention in a Tolarian Community College video this week. Shallow Grave, up $1.21 to $11.75. Reserve list card that's drying up that does see a little commander play. Eben Prater on the reserve list. It goes up $1.24 to $2.95. Pretty big percentage jump. Again, it doesn't see a ton of commander play or anything, but it is drying up. Birds of Paradise from 7th edition is drying up a little bit this week too. It goes up $1.24 to $13.29. Now there are more copies of this coming in the Ornithological Secret Lair, but this is a highly played commander card and sees play in Modern and Legacy too. Entomb from Eternal Masters up $1.28 to $17.68. This sees a lot of commander play. You'll find this in Muldroth of the Gravetide and more there. Also sees Legacy play in Reanimator and other decks in that format too. Semblance Anvil up $1.30 to $7. Many times in Joyra, Weatherlight Captain builds, and more. Damnation, fantastic commander board sweep in black. Also does see some modern play. This is the one from Modern Masters 2017. It goes up $1.33 to $39.99. Deserted Temple goes up $1.39 to $19.36. This sees a fair amount of play in various builds. Works well with Cabal Coffers, Nykthos Shrine to Nyx, Gaia's Cradle if you're lucky enough to own one of those, or Growing Rites of Itlimoc for the rest of us, for example. Maybe this is another card that could get better with Zendikar Rising as well. Mirari's Wake from Conspiracy up $1.39 to $25.35. Highly played commander card, seeing additional play in Rin and Ciri Inseparable. Prosperity from Portal, this copy drying up a little this week. It goes up $1.41 to $3.70. And this has seen increased commander play in Zera's The Writhing Storm. Earl, the Miststalker from Alara Reborn, goes up $1.42 to $13.75. Fairly popular commander, one of my favorites. Intuition on the reserve list. They did get a Judge foil, though, printed before they closed that loophole. It goes up $1.42 to $89.99. And you'll find this in some commander decks as well as some legacy and vintage builds. Lord of the Undead from 9th edition goes up $1.44 to $13.46. This was in many of the Scarab God decks, which of course was just reprinted in Double Masters. Balefire Dragon up $1.44 to $18.47. This is another card that you'll find in a bunch of decks where the commander was recently reprinted. Things like Kali of the Vast, the Ur-Dragon, and Xenagos God of Revels. Vedalken Orrery, highly played commander card in numerous builds and also got a command zone mention this week. This is the one from 5th Dan going up $1.48 to $40. The teeter-totter ride with Silver Legion continues going up $1.48 to $101.37. Of course, this is from Future Sight. Feels like it goes up one week, down another week. Commander Sliver decks, though, have been very popular since the reprinting of Sliver Hivelord and Sliver Overlord. Femeref Enchantress. This goes up $1.51 to $7.97. Another reserve list card drying up. Altar of Bone. This goes up $1.53 to $9.99. And sure, like the last card, it sees a little commander play. But for the most part, you know this is going up because it is a reserve list card right now. Third verse, same as the first. Exact same thing happening with Season of the Witch. It goes up $1.53 to $12.52. Flusterstorm from Commander up $1.55 to $10.99. And this sees Vintage, Legacy, and Modern play, but it also does see some Commander play, especially in competitive decks. Many times you'll find this in Kess builds and more. Aurelia the War Leader. This is the one from the Guilds of Ravnica Boros Guild kit. This copy can only be found in foil. It goes up $1.60 to $17.01. Many times you'll find this in Kali of the Vast. Also, it has seen increased play in Winona join her forces recently. Bribery from 8th edition. We saw the original copy going up over the last week or two. This time we get the 8th edition copy going up $1.62 to $23.03. This sees play in Send Triplets and much more in the format. Also remember, Send Triplets was reprinted in foil and WP and Mystery Boosters and also in Double Masters. Lotus Cobra from Iconic Masters, highly played commander card, goes up $1.66 to $16.50. Command Beacon from Commander 2015 goes up $1.71 to $26.73. And this is another good commander utility land. Wound Reflection from Shadowmoor, reprinted recently in Double Masters, has been losing value, bounces back up a little bit, up $1.78 to $22.63. And this has seen some increased commander play in Obosh the Prey Piercer decks. Carrion, another reserve list card drying up that is actually decent in some commander builds. It goes up $1.79 to $5.25. Last Chance, this is the Portal copy. Also the Starter 1999 one was going up recently too. This one goes up $1.80 this week to $14.24. And maybe some people are interested in this since Discontinuity came out in Core Set 2021. Karn Silver Golem from Urza Saga. This is on the reserve list, but did get 2 printings in foil. There was an Arena promo, as well as a copy of this in From the Vault Relics. This goes up $1.81 to $19.11 this week, and it does see a little commander play. Michiko Kanda Truthseeker sees a fair amount of play in various builds. It goes up $1.85 to $18.97. Cavern of Souls from Ultimate Masters up $1.92 to $82.71. These generally have been hot since people found out that it wasn't going to be in Double Masters. This sees a lot of Commander, Legacy, and Vintage play. Also a lot of Modern play. You'll find this in decks like Eldrazi, Tron, Goblins, Amulet Titan, Humans, and more. Brain Geyser from Revised up $2 to $13.24 on the reserve list, and this has seen some increased play recently in Cesareo the Exemplary. City of Brass. This is a highly played Commander mana-based card. Also sees play in Modern Dredge and Nauseam, also in Legacy Dredge. 8th edition up $1.01 to $20.98. 7th edition goes up $1.65 to $22. 6th edition goes up $2.01 to $19.99. Goblin Sharpshooter from the Explosion Sound Secret Lair goes up $2.06 to $16.95. And this has seen increased play due to new cards like Conspicuous Snoop, Muxus Goblin Grandy, Zerzoth Chaos Rider, Calcium the Plague, and more. Also remember, Krenko Mob Boss was recently reprinted. Many times you'll find this in those decks too. Emiel the Blast, it goes up $2.08 to $43.69, another jumpstart card here, and a very popular commander out of the gate. Apocalypse, decent commander card on the reserve list, jumping up $2.09 to $6.29. Cloud Key, many times you'll find this one in Elsha the Infinite or Joyra Weatherlight Captain builds and others. It goes up $2.09 to $25.31. Grenzo Havoc Razor, this goes up $2.11 this week to $16.75. Has seen increased play in Zerzoth Chaos Rider, Muxus Goblin Grandy, Severa Telzidi Caravaner, Krenko Mob Boss, and more. Dak Vaden from Conspiracy, it goes up $2.15 to $24.49. This has seen increased play in Rael the Everwise builds. Many times you'll find this in Brea builds too, and it also does see a lot of Vintage and some Legacy play. Heuristic Study, it did get a Command Zone mention this week. Don't know if it really needed the help because this is one of the highest played commander cards you can find out there. Prophecy goes up $1.25 to $23.77. The Mystery Booster copy up $1.74 to $26, and Jumpstart goes up $2.19 to $31.50. Withering Boon, this has seen more play in Tiny Bones decks recently. This goes up $2.21 to $7.48. Opposition from Urza's Destiny has seen increased play in Zera's The Writhing Storm, goes up $2.21 to $11.49. Volrath's Stronghold on the reserve list, it goes up $2.26 to $91.39. good in Kali of the Vast builds, and has seen increased play in Tiny Bones as well. Opalescence on the reserve list, sometimes found in enchantment heavy builds, goes up 227 to 1699. Well of Knowledge, another card drying up because it's on the reserve list more than anything. It goes up 229 to 499, but this one could be good in a group hug deck. Mary's Guile from Tempest actually does see a fair amount of play. It's good in Radha Heart of Keld decks. It goes up 230 to 2699. Fork from Revised on the reserve list. It goes up 231 to 2801, and this has seen increased play in Calamax the Stormsire decks. Another card being pushed by Tiny Bones. It's No Mercy, going up 233 to 2998. Vesuva from Time Spiral goes up 241 to 2966, and this is in Golos builds and much more in Commander. Also sees Modern and Legacy play. Mind Slicer, another card moving because of Tiny Bones. 9th edition goes up $1.07 to 1898. Odyssey goes up $2.44 this week to $16.97. Mind Over Matter on the reserve list does see some Commander play in a few builds. It goes up $2.44 to $39.47. Humility on the reserve list sees a little Commander play. It goes up $2.44 to $49.99. Sarah Ascendant, this is the one from Magic 2011. It goes up $2.56 to $15.97. It has seen increased play recently in Heliod Sun Crown builds, as well as Inniez the Galeforce decks. Parallel Lives goes up $2.60 this week to $31.95. Sees a lot of Commander play. You'll find this in builds like Rin and Siri Inseparable, Reese the Redeemed, Riku of Two Reflections, and much more. Oracle of Moldiah, the one from Zendikar. Of course, this just got reprinted in Jumpstart. It was losing value for a while, bouncing back now. It goes up $2.62 to $42.22. Highly played Commander card in lands builds and more. Also could get even better when Zendikar Rising comes out. Another Tutor in black, Demonic Tutor. Probably not a coincidence with everybody building Tiny Bones, but you'll find this in a lot of vintage decks, a lot of Commander decks, especially competitive ones. Mystery Booster copy goes up $1.52 to $36.53. Dual Decks Anthology up $2.62 to $44.94. Lotus Blossom, now this is not on the reserve list, but it is still drying up. It goes up $2.65 to $7.61 this week. Sulphurous Springs, this is the copy from Deckmasters Garfield vs. Finkel. It goes up $2.65 to $11.66. Even though this is a harder to find copy of the card, it is worth noting because these Ally Pain lands, they've been pretty hot recently, and they basically only see play in Commander. Platinum Angel from Magic 2010 goes up $2.68 to $9.38. You'll find this one in Kali of the Vast builds and more. Underground River, another one of those Ally Pain lands. Ice Age goes up $1.01 to $9.34. 7th edition up $1.13 to $6.71. 6th edition goes up $2.68 to $9.57. Corpse Dance on the reserve list goes up $2.84 to $16.56. This card's been hot for a little while now. Good reanimation spell for Commander, also for cubes. It is an instant, so it does work with things like Kozilek Butcher of Truth, for example. Training Grounds up $2.87 to $47.99. Another big card not reprinted in Double Masters. Highly played Commander card. You'll find this one in Sliver builds and more, but recently it has seen increased play in Kenrith the Return King decks. Venser Shaper Savant from Future Sight. This goes up $2.93 to $11.96. You'll find this in a number of different Commander builds. Also sees Legacy play in Esper Vial and some Modern play too. Consecrated Sphinx from Mirrodin Besieged up $2.94 to $34.89. This is a highly played Commander card, sees a lot of competitive play, and has seen increased play in a number of different builds. Kinenbonder Prodigy, Inniez the Galeforce, Bruvak the Grandiloquent, and more. Also found in decks built around some of those recently reprinted commanders too, like Breya and the Locust God. On top of that, it also got a Command Zone mention this week. Sensei's Divining Top from Champions of Kamigawa goes up $2.94 to $52.18. Highly played Commander card in many builds, especially good in Yuriko the Tiger Shadow decks, and that was reprinted in Mystery Boosters. Also, this does see vintage play too. New Blood goes up $3.06 to $7.75, and this is in Edgar Markov builds, but also has seen more play now in Vito Thorn of the Duskrose decks. Force of Negation, this goes up $3.07 to $49.59. Sees a lot of Commander play, again, especially in competitive builds right now. In Modern, it's in Uro Piles, Control builds, and more. Also sees Legacy and Vintage play. And additionally, it did get a mention from the professor this week on Tellurian Community College. Gemstone Caverns, another card that's been hot, goes up $3.16 to $54.98. This is solid in a lot of different Commander decks and has been seeing more play in Tiny Bones builds recently. Also another card that got mentioned in one of the professor's videos this week. Additionally, it sees Modern play in Mono Blue Tron and more. Ancient Tomb, Ultimate Masters goes up $1.33 to $44.99. Tempest up $3.18 to $45.78. This is highly played in Commander, also sees Legacy and Vintage play. Preacher is another reserve list card drying up. It goes up $3.29 this week to $28.26. Pathbreaker Ibex, another card that has been hot. This showed up on Commander Versus this week and did get a Command Zone podcast mention too, but it is in a variety of different decks. Commander Anthology goes up $1.77 to $13.31. Commander 2015 goes up $3.41 to $17.29. Wrath of God, highly played Commander board sweep. It was reprinted though in Double Masters, but these two copies in particular have been dry recently. The Portal one goes up $1.40 to $12.42. The 9th edition copy up $3.41 to $19.99. Craterhoof Behemoth, also reprinted recently, this time in Jumpstart, and this does see play in Legacy Elves, but it also sees a lot of Commander play. This is in Reese the Redeemed, also a lot of newer builds like Kinnan Prodigy and Zera's the Writhing Storm. This also got a Command Zone mention this week, but the Modern Masters 2017 copy goes up $2.18 to $49.87. Evison Restored up $3.46 to $50.53. Dream Hall's on the reserve list, sees a little Commander play, but again, a card that is drying up online. It goes up $3.27 to $30.48. Necropotence, this sees vintage play, sees Commander play, and yes, it does see play in Tiny Bones builds. Deckmasters Garfield vs. Finkel, that copy's only in foil. It goes up $1.73 to $49.99. Iconic Masters goes up $3.47 to $29.89. Pendulum Mist, not necessarily a strong Commander card. I mean, I guess you could play it in some builds, but it is a reserve list card drying up, going up $3.53 to $19.77. City of Solitude up $4 to $23.99, another reserve list card drying up, but it does see a little Commander play. Mana Web, you guessed it, it's on the reserve list. It goes up $4.04 to $18.14, another card that just sees a little bit of play here or there in Commander. And same thing, sees a little Commander play, but it is a reserve list card that's getting harder to find. Phyrexian Purge at $4.50 to $9.49. Lotus Veil on the reserve list, but this card's been hot for a while. It goes up $4.86 to $28.99, and of course it does see some play in various builds in Commander. Conqueror's Flail goes up $5.01 to $23.99. You'll find this one in a lot of aggressive builds in the format. Winds of Change, the copy from Portal dries up this week, going up $5.21 to $35.98. Now this has seen some increased play in Zera's the Writhing Storm builds, also Zerzoth Chaos Rider decks. And again, also remember the Locust God was reprinted recently too, and this is good in those decks as well. Winding Canyons, yeah, another one of these cards that maybe sees a little Commander play, but it is drying up because it's on the reserve list. It goes up $5.42 to $27.41. Enlightened Tudor from 6th edition, highly played Commander card, has seen increased play recently in those Sisay Weatherlight Captain builds using the Core Set 2021 Shrines. Also, you'll find this in Brea builds, and it did get a Tellurian Community College mention as well this week. It goes up $5.47 to $41.88. Scroll Rack from Tempest, yet another highly played Commander card, good in a lot of different builds, including Yuriko the Tiger's Shadow, another card that's especially good there. It goes up $5.94 to $98.80. Firestorm on the reserve list, but this has seen increased Commander play in Rael the Everwise builds, although considering the price jump here, it probably is a buyout. It goes up $6.31 to $22.22. Metalworker on the reserve list. This card got hot ever since it was on game nights a couple weeks back. It goes up $6.54 this week to $114.99, and you'll find this one in a lot of different places, like Urza Lord High Artificer, Kozilek the Great Distortion, and Joyra Weatherlight Captain. Earthcraft, another card on the reserve list, most likely being targeted for a buyout. It goes up $7.24 to $99.99 this week, but it has seen increased play in Zera's the Writhing Storm decks, and does see play in Reese the Redeemed builds sometimes too. Another card that does see play in Zera's the Writhing Storm also shows up in the Locust God decks as well. It is Time Spiral on the reserve list, going up $7.32 this week to $125. Paradigm Shift, another card on the reserve list. It goes up $9.97 to $34.95. And this was seeing some legacy play in Merfolk builds with Thassa's Oracle. Not as much recently, but it is still seeing a fair amount of Commander play. Goblin Wizard on the reserve list goes up $13.68 to $43.11. This does show up in some Goblin builds in Commander, but again, it feels like a buyout more than anything. Eladamri Lord of Leaves, this is definitely a buyout. It goes up $19.95 to $45 this week. You guessed it, it's on the reserve list, and it sees a little Commander play, but nothing excessive. Cruel Tutor, another Tutor in black, not as good as the others we looked at in today's video though, but some people still might want to pick it up for Tiny Bones. The big difference, however, is this one's pretty hard to find in good condition being from Portal. It goes up $23.50 to $87.04. Yavimaya Hollow on the reserve list. It goes up $31.61 to $85. And this is another reserve list card that most likely is being targeted for a buyout, but it does show up in a number of different Commander builds. And that brings us to the Premium Spotlight. I say this every week, but I especially want to emphasize it this week. When it comes to rare, hard to find cards, those could be foils, they could be promos, or they could just be old cards in good condition sometimes. Be careful. check eBay sold and completed listings, see what people are actually paying for these cards. Don't be tricked by the market manipulation out there. So it is hard sometimes to find premium cards to talk about in the segment that aren't being manipulated, but I try to find a few cards every week that feel like they're moving at least somewhat naturally with the market, and today I picked 3. We have Force of Negation, the foil for Modern Horizons. It is going up $13 to $198.89 this week. You have Academy Rector, which we talked about earlier as well. The foil from Urza's Destiny goes up $36.05 to $459.11. And finally, as promised, the foil Mox Diamond from the Vault Relics. It goes up $156.29 this week to $599.99. I was a little suspicious of this jump, but I dug into the data and I did find some sales. Now, granted, sometimes you can fake sales too, don't get me wrong, but it looked like this card was trending towards the $500-600 mark. Will that last? I guess time will tell, but for right now, it's having a pretty big week. Alright, with that being said, that is the Market Watch for this week. Hey, as always, thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe and have a great day. Hey, thanks for watching. This video is made possible through the generous support of viewers like you on Patreon. Check out the description below for links to our Patreon page as well as our Amazon affiliate store, where a small percentage of all sales will also help support the channel. Finally, if you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the new videos on Heroes and Legends. Talk to you again soon and have a great day.